Hey, Tom Rush here. I've been doing this series called Rockport Sundays. It's been a lot of fun. I have a guest come every week, and we chat and we play. A guest recently really knocked my socks off. His name is Callie, and he is a looper. And I said, "What's a looper?" Well, we're about to find out. Callie's going to show you how loopy is done. It's kind of amazing.
Looping is, in essence, it's like recorded ostinato, I'd say, which is just taking snippets of phrases and replaying them. The way I view it is most definitely different than the next looper, and the next looper will be different than the next one. It's one of those things, it's one of those formats where everybody puts a little bit of their own twist on it. For me, basically, I am trying to make sound bites live. Everything is live. And I am trying to capture those, layer them in ways that will create a soundscape that just doesn't feel like it comes from one person, and also secondarily will help tell the story that's with the song. And thirdly, will hopefully make people move and dance. And what I do is I start from different places. A lot of people will start with what's called the setup, right? You set up your whole loop. You will set up the beats if you're using vocal tracks, the guitar. You'll see this a lot with loopers like Tosh Sultana, Mike Love, FKJ, Ed Sheeran, even like pop stars and stuff who do this thing. But with that said, I'll start with basically the most basic element is just not even the tune for me. It might start with the drums sometimes, it might start with the vocals, but it's finding the one and establishing that first measure. So So now I have two elements going on. I use three loopers. It's a lot of people just use one looper. You can do that. I do it because there's two types of looping. There's serial looping and then there's stack looping. Serial looping, the way to think of it is stack looping is what most people do. You put a layer on something and you add another layer and you take layers away in order to create the dynamics. Serial looping is a little bit of that, but what you're doing is you use the pedals to have different moments, like an A, a B section, or a chorus and a verse. In order to do both, I use more than one looper. So I've got this melody going on the main looper and a little beat going on a secondary looper. The main looper is telling the secondary looper how to stay in time and based on what the measure of the first one is. So technically, the beat part's not coming through the main loop yet. This is the main loop as recorded. If I want to add the beat in, which I've muted, I can put it on a second channel. So right now I'm on the last channel here. I'm gonna put it on the middle channel. So now I have that in there. The beat's still going in the background layered. That's if I want to add a third layer, right? A third channel, rather. I can do that. So here's another one. So now both of those have the same beat that I've only put in one measure of beat. So that's one of the tricks I use, is something really quick. Now, for me, looping is all about options. I like to have options. I have attention deficit disorder since before it was cool to have that, before it was popular. And this is just like how my brain kind of works. One minute I'll be like, I like this sound, or depending on where I'm at, if I'm playing a coffee shop, or I'm playing like a kids play group, or if I'm playing late night in a restaurant, I will use different elements to play the same role. So my third looper is this whole percussion station over here, which is these two drum pads and this machine, which I use for the drum pads mostly, but also do have tonal elements like a bass, you know, so I can add things on the third one. So I know that right now I have this one and I have a B section. I'm gonna add a drum pattern and do this very much the same thing. I'm gonna mute it in the background, so that'll give it like a lift, because for me it's about options, it's about dynamics. So the first part of a song, before I get to that part that's really lifted, I might just have the guitar in there, add a little shaker in there, and then when I really want it to hit with the next part of the story, I'll add another thing. And now I can so now I have another section. I can go back to just the first thing I recorded, but now with a lift in it. And if I wanted to, I can also take those things back out by muting various pedals. I have set my board up so I have a lot of options to mute things too, to stop them from coming fully through. I can also try, although I don't try to do it often live, I can try to do it without the beat if I'm trying to simulate a layer, like. And then come back in on the one. So for me, looping is all about knowing where the one is and then moving the one to different things to create the illusion of other people coming in and out of a song, like the dynamics. So with that said, I use three loopers. I use three loopers and extra trigger pedals. So a lot of people will say to me, oh, you've got so many pedals. And I do have a lot of pedals. It's a lot of real estate, mostly real estate. There's a hum debugger, which doesn't do much. I have a delay. I've got a pog for the low end. I have a wah pedal, and I have this pretty interesting, just because it's textures. I can play like some Jethro Tull with some flutes in there coming from my guitar. That's it for modulating the sound of my actual guitar. The rest of it is all just capturing it and creating those, putting those things together and taking them apart in a fashion. That's more or less the instrument that I'm playing, is the dynamics. I mean, I do consider it as a looper that I'm playing the guitar, but I feel like I'm playing the dynamics more or less. So let me take you through like a quick little song, like how I would build. If I know something is going to be kind of a crescendo in energy, I'm going to start real low with the energy so that I can help facilitate the emotions in the crowd. I don't want to start with a sound wall that's too high. I don't want to end with one real high and leave everybody feeling like, oh, I needed more from that or I needed less from that. I kind of want to build it, and a lot of the time I'll look out into the crowd and see who's feeling it, who's not feeling it, in order to get there. But so like something as simple as I've now layered the first part down, right? I've got that first part down. If I want to put the actual second piece in, I need something to tether it. I need a one. So I'm going to use the secondary loopers to either capture my voice in percussion or go to the percussion looper and capture it, or a combination of both. Now I have something with measure. I can actually move it to a second part when I get all the way there.
Here comes the sun, here comes the sun. I say it's alright.
A lot of the time I'll do a passing thing too, just one measure, in order to have moment to play with something like this, and then go. So now I'm playing the verse part. When I'm done with the verse part, I can just go back, as long as I remember which one it is on, and put that channel back together. So back to the chorus. Here's where I could layer in like bass. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to mimic certain things that are going to be too analog in order for me to actually replicate multiple things at once. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to replicate, this is where, you know, in my head the bassist is standing back and then kicks in on the second verse. It tends to be a lot of that same type of building. It tends to be that same type of building, is like the dynamics. Sometimes a couple songs in a row, if they have similar elements, I will leave older elements in order to, one, cut down on the looping time, and two, keep the energy right where I had it for the last song. But as you can guess, it gets a little monotonous to like leave things in. So there's a few things I always try to do. Obviously I'm using the layering, but I try to stay away from creating sound walls that are not big enough or too big. I try to stay away from too simplistic and over the top. There's a Goldilocks zone with looping. And you'll see a lot of the time, I did this a lot when I was beginning with looping. Everything was too much. You get to this point where you want to add another thing and it's too much. And so a lot of what you're doing as a looper is trying to rein in those moments when you have too much or not enough. So actually a lot of what I do on the pedal board is triage. A lot of these buttons just erase the last thing that I've done. That's what these 8 buttons are all dedicated to. Just so on the fly, I can, if I'm not feeling a beat, I can erase it, and within that same measure, I can restart. I can restart the beat. So a lot of that is dynamics, and then to add to the dynamics, not everybody does this, but I use a filter pass so that there's moments you can take the whole soundscape you've just created and blend it into something else. So if I have these elements in here, I've got these 2 beats and I want to get to another part, or another feeling, or a feeling of like a drop, those dynamics. Of course, I can just kill the beat itself. I could do the opposite, which feels weirder, and just have beat. Or to bring it to a B section, I can just simply, now the staccato strumming arpeggios are gone. Then it's just making sure that I erase things in the right place. A lot of times what I'll do, and especially in the beginning, is I'll have a section where, you know, I will accidentally leave something in. So a lot of it is fixing your mistakes on the fly, and a lot of it is exploring sound. Some loopers do more exploration, some do less, some do a lot more. They stick to the books of what they did. I can't do it. I have to ad-lib in some way, shape, or form, or it will get messier, believe it or not. So I really don't, I would say 80% of what I'm gonna do going into a song is somewhere up there. And then the rest of it is like, what if I did this time? And sometimes that works. Sometimes it does not work, but that is, and everything here is really digital, but I try to treat things very analog. I want things to be very in the moment, although it's a lot of electronics. If I played in a rainstorm, I couldn't keep going. But I like to get it to feel as organic as you can possibly feel when you're plugged in. You know, I feel a lot like Pinocchio right before he became a real boy. That I'm destined to become a real boy, but I'm like not quite there. You know, strings still on.
is rolling through the valley. A murder of crows are calling us. They begin to rally. A storm is coming, getting dark outside. There's no sense in running, 'cause there's nowhere to hide. Ooh, the storm, ooh, the storm, ooh, the storm, watch out for the storm. The stars are hiding somewhere behind the cloud. Distant skies are crying, the wind is howling loud. My overcoat is thin, but the air is thicker. Those feet are swift, these gusts of wind move quicker. Lightning's flashing, rolling thunder follow. The bolts they all come crashing down, and the entire sky is swallowed. I had been bold, I had been warm. Now this earth is cold, and I'm caught out in the storm. Ooh, the storm, ooh, the storm, watch out for the storm. I had been born, I had been born. Down this earth is cold, and I'm cold out in the storm. In this storm, I had been told, I had been warned. Now this earth is cold, and I'm caught out in this storm. Ooh, the storm. Cool. So that's all those that you wrote.
That was Callie, looping on Rockport Sundays. Come on by, check out Rockport Sundays. Go to tomrush.com, click on Rockport Sundays, and check it out. It's a lot of fun. I think you'd enjoy it.